Rebecca, and second by Mr. Doniker. Are there any comments, corrections, changes that need to be made? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. At this time, we'll open it up for the public comment. Okay, I don't see anyone. Okay, so hearing no public comment, we will close that and we will turn to Ed for the report of the wastewater treatment plant. Ed?
I just want to apologize that I don't have a written report for tonight, but we were a little busy today, so I couldn't get around to it. I'm going to start with the water system, though. As you guys can tell, we've repaired the hydrant on the corner that is functioning now. The hydrant at the beach has also been repaired. We do plan on doing some landscaping on those two areas, hopefully next week, because we're flushing hydrants this week. So that's going to take up most of our time. And then our annual water quality report was sent out with our billing. I thank Crystal and Tracy for doing that. We really didn't have too many problems with bills. There are a couple that still need to be addressed that I haven't been able to get to because of COVID or because they're seasonal residents. So once I can get with them and get in their houses to check the meters, they'll be taken care of. The next, I'll go right into, yes.
I just have a quick comment for the wastewater treatment report, the water quality report, that there's an error, and I realize that it's not you or this office, it's the Department of Health that has not updated the times of the village meetings. So that was brought to my attention by Trustee Smith. If we can attempt to have them correct it. I know it's been 2 years that they haven't corrected it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it warrants remailing it, but.
No. But I think going forward, if we can have that corrected, that'd be great.
Yeah, we can do that. And honestly, they sent it to us as a
PDF.
Word document. We didn't catch it either, so we can make those changes in the future and do that. We did make a few other changes, but we didn't catch that.
Okay.
All right, so I'll move on to sewer now. Oh, also with water, I'm sorry. Obviously, pump number 1 has been fixed. W2 operator was here again for pump number 2 because it would not turn off. They worked on some things in the panel. They were going to rebuild the valve, but I had them hold off because of the cost. I don't believe it was a valve issue. Everything seems to be functioning now, but prior to us putting it back online, I'm replacing the 2 needle valves, which determine how fast that valve opens and closes to lessen water hammer. If I try to put it online now, there's a good chance it'll cause a break. So I want to get those parts in. They are on my desk. We just haven't had a chance to put them in. So once that's done, everything should be back, both pumps in operation, and we should be good for summer.
Great.
All right, I will move on to sewer now. Pump station 5, it's been on my to-do list to get the pump pulled. While W2 was here working on the well building, I had them with their find space, enter the pump station and pull that pump for us. We installed a new O-ring and we installed 2 eyelets for the chain, and we will keep closer eye on that because in my ear, it was actually pretty surprising. But as of now, that pump station is back to being fully functional, even though it really only serves like 3 to 4 houses, but it's better to have 2 than 1. And then I guess the next big thing I just want to discuss with sewer is the project. Today we had our pre-bid meeting with Lamont and some of the contractors. I did receive a call this afternoon on a contractor that had missed the meeting. So they're going to come up Friday to do a quick walk around. Everything seems to be in order. Project bids are due by May 21st at noon. So Jeanette, I don't know what your plans are that day, but we'll have to be you'll be opening some envelopes.
We'll do that. Ed, does
yes.
Since today is the day for the pre-bid meeting and the opening is going to be 11 days from now, or essentially, 10 days after, is that sufficient time for them to put together bids for the remaining part of the project?
Honestly, I'm sure Mark can talk from experience as well, but probably ask for an extension. The contractors will. It's more than likely going to happen.
Okay.
It's generally, it happens no matter what schedule you set, I guess.
And how many contractors?
What's that?
And how many contractors, please?
3 as of now, but I did have that 4th call this afternoon. I don't want to discuss details.
Nope. Just numbers. Thank you.
Yep. And then, so then we would award bid by May 24th at the board meeting, which would be a Rogers meeting. If you guys need me to be there for that, I can be. I don't think it's a huge deal, but, and then we'll reward bonds and the signed contract the first week in June. Notice to proceed will go June 14th. And after some discussion today, it seems like this project should be finished November, December. We'll see. I hope. That'd be great. I mean, in reality, they're going to use the summer months to do the outside work, the poured concrete for the digester, all that kind of stuff. And then once all the hard stuff is done, they can move in and replace equipment and do stuff inside. So that's the estimated time frame for finishing as it's written in the contract right now. It could be changed, but we'll see what happens. Then that's pretty much it. There's a few, they're not huge deal. Anything can be done through a change order at this point. So I think we're in good shape to get everything done.
Terrific.
And so now that I'm done with my my minutes here, is there any questions on that?
No, I think you've had a lot going on that you've managed very well, and thank you for the update on the hydrants as well. There was a question that came to me, or a question that was discussed this week about the hydrant on the corner of Brooks Ave and 30/8, but I understand that, as you've mentioned before, that has been properly put out of service since we noted that, and that it would be considered to be put online at a later date if that's going to be feasible. But that's not a priority, and it's not.
Yeah. If it's possible.
Public record, right?
We are going to be working on the next one in 2 weeks to determine what we need for it. Okay. That isn't the next one though. Yeah, any hydrant that has been put out of service has been done so as soon as it was noted. So there's a ring on it that says out of service on the main cap, and if anybody would like anything else done, they can let us know, and we'd be more than happy to attempt to do that.
Yep. Yeah, and the fire department is always notified with an out of service hydrant, and that's the only one. And as we've determined before, Ed, thank you, that there is a sufficient coverage with the existing hydrants that really is an overlap area, and that he would still be appropriately served, God forbid that there's a fire.
Right.
Okay.
So at this point, I'd like to finally discuss our 30-year analysis, if that's okay, unless you wanted to do that at another point.
No, Crystal and I had a conversation earlier today. This is a 30-year planning tool that we have for water and sewer, and so I think it's important that we begin the conversation today. There are some decisions that we're going to have to make going forward, and I think it's important for us to reiterate again that the challenges with water and sewer is that we are required that water revenues pay for water, sewer revenues pay for sewer. And so general fund doesn't go into that. You can't borrow sewer to pay water. So it's really important that we manage this well and that we're not cut up short if we haven't adjusted our revenues appropriately, or if we have plans for upgrades and repairs and projects that we have sufficient funds in our coffers to be able to address those, or at least be able to start saving for those types of things so that we can then go out and get grants. Because no one's going to give us a grant for 100%. You know, it's usually 50-50 match. If we're in a really good shape, it's 80-20 where we would pay 20%. But we really need to make sure that we understand where we're coming from with that. So with that, Ed, I've pulled that up on the screen, and has a copy of it as well.
Yeah, I would like to thank the Mark for doing this. Great, and I know he's not with us anymore, but it was mostly due to him that we had this. Eric Craven, sorry. It's mostly due to him that we have this. It's pretty limited on information as of now because we really only started doing this in 19 and 20. And then COVID hit, and it makes it very difficult to guesstimate or make an educated guess on what our incomes will actually be from usage. Base rates are relatively simple and straightforward. Now we also have incomes from penalties, which have went up a little. Well, they're about the same. Water service fees, which actually have went up quite a bit because more properties in the village are selling and more people want water, as long as it can be provided to them. So there's not really much we can discuss other than you can see we have our income from base rates, and this is all as of April 30th. Our income from usage, which is a little low now, but that could be due to COVID, and also not really and Camp of the Woods is a really big factor on usage. Our water service fees are up, you can see income from penalties. But as we move forward, this will give us a clearer picture for the years coming. It really doesn't show us much now, but we can input numbers as we go to kind of see where we are. If you can scroll down a little bit, it's kind of big on my screen. I don't know how it is on everybody else's, but you can see on the left we have our number of customers paying. Inflation operating costs, this is every year we're just doing an increase. And then we go to our expenses. Here we have our bonds. Any interest on water. This is where you can see in 1920 we didn't have the $20,000 interest. We had to add that into the water budget because it was coming out of the general fund. So now we are paying that out of the water fund as it should be. Ma'am, I'm in a meeting. No. Yes. No. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Our bonds here for water, which hopefully we can take care of in the future. Our operating expenses, as you can see, from 1920 to 2021, we drastically cut our budget in operating expenses to cover the costs of the bond interest that we added and the anticipated costs we're going to see in the future.
Right. You've done a remarkable job keeping those costs down.
Well, this year's been really rough.
Yeah. And that's not.
What's that?
And that's not the way it should be going forward. I mean, COVID, the pandemic, all that stuff is really conspired to make it that more difficult, in addition to adding the $20,000 bond interest.
Plus then everything breaking at the same time in the water system.
Yes.
Which those are things that we need to anticipate, and this is what this is for.
Correct.
And then as of now, it's showing a total surplus of $42,000. I would probably have that. I would not anticipate that much in a surplus.
Right. And
I haven't seen.
That does not yet take out the salaries for June and any ongoing normal billing for May.
Yeah. And
So
any overhead or anything like that.
When the figures are final.
Yeah.
So what I would like to point out here is that as we're looking at this, our expenses are going to exceed our income in 21-22. So I think that's the big take-home message. And so it'll be important as we revisit it again to see how that comes out. But that's something that
I wouldn't. This is what I was saying about how this isn't quite up to par yet, because you're looking at a total expense based on my 1920 budget, which I've reduced significantly. If you look at your operating expense for 1920, it matches relatively what my total expenses are for 2021.
Okay.
So you're going to have a significant reduction in total expenses in 21 and 22. That number just hasn't been adjusted yet because we really have no way of knowing until the end of this year. So once you know the end of this year, you add 1.5% inflation to your total expenses for 2021. That'll give us a much better understanding moving forward for 21 and 22.
Right, and give
that number that's there, I don't think is correct at all.
No, I agree that it's not correct, and we probably will not be in as poor a shape as this indicates at the present time. But I also think that we may need to adjust for inflation, given the current state of affairs and the current lack of materials available and all that sort of stuff. So I think it's.
I agree.
The other.
I think a good way to do that, sorry to interrupt, would be to take whatever our total expenses are going to be for the 2021 year and then just determine a percentage increase for the following year. Now, we have it set as 1.5%. Maybe we'll want to go to 3%. I don't really know what it'll be, but that'll give us a much better number moving forward.
Yes. And I think that what is not included in here, and Crystal and I were trying to determine how we can factor that in. If you'll recall, there was a resolution to include a minimum usage of 3,000 gallons of water per quarter. So that equates to about $15 if you're not using any water at all. And for those who, of course, use more than 3,000, that's included and that adjustment. So based on the rough estimate of approximately 190 users who do not use water for 2 quarters, that would give us an additional revenue of about $5,700. Now, there are other camps that may not have minimum usage for 1 quarter, so that would, increase the revenue slightly. So we've done things to try and adjust for that proposed deficit due to COVID, due to those shortfalls, and moving forward. You want to go to wastewater now?
We can. Does
anyone have any questions on that? Rebecca, Jim, I know you're kind of new to it. Does that make sense? So if you look at the base rates at the very top of that, those base rates, the current fiscal year, year 1, year 2, year 3 are underneath. So, just to orient yourselves for that. Okay. So we'll have time to digest it more. Okay.
Yeah. I'd like everybody just to take an opportunity to look at it at some time. If you have questions, we can talk about it. I'm sure Crystal doesn't mind talking about it either.
And I should point out, she loves it. So I should also point out at the present time that there's approximately $40,000 in unappropriated fund balance in the water. If you recall, we have a policy for unappropriated fund balance that would include 2 months operating expenses. So that $40,000 at present covers those operating expenses. So we don't have any surplus for any additional projects. And I think as we come to next month, we should reiterate again, we're looking at increasing or connecting the loop of the water line. So we need to, what that planning is going out, as well as fixing the water lines near Bear Run. What's the name of that?
Yeah, I do have a list. We just have to move forward with applying for grants and getting preliminary engineering done, and then determining how we're going to pay for it. So
Right. So I think those things will be all the more critical to determine how we're adjusting base rates and fees and how we can go forward and what monies we need in what years and how we can consolidate our USDA grant that has a high percentage interest. But we can only do that by taking a larger grant and then dropping the interest significantly. So there are a few financial we need to address.
I would like to just reiterate something that I discussed with Brendan today. The state average for water annually is around $900. The state average for sewer annually is around $1,200. We are below both of those. I hope never to get near that, but we never know what's going to happen. I just want everybody to know and make it clear that we are still below the average for the state. I know people do have some complaints sometimes, but these numbers can all be found on state websites. I'm sure they're on any
right.
Nikon.
Right now, our water is $352 a year, going up to $368 a year compared to the $900 average annual. And the sewer is $428, proposed to go up to $440 as compared to $1,200 annually. So that's significant.
Yeah, and then
not that we want to get up there, but
you would have to add usage rates in, but that's a pretty close number, and we're still well below the average. So, I just wanted to make that point. That's all. I know some people get upset about it, but we're doing the best we can. So.
Nope, you're running a tight budget, so thank you for that. It looks, and again, there are some things that still need to be factored in here for the total surplus and deficit. We're in much better shape with the sewer. We do have unappropriated fund balances in the neighborhood of about $220,000, which sounds like an incredible amount of money, which it is. However, Ed, you and I have discussed that you would like to hold doing anything with that amount of money until we see the wastewater project complete, in case there's any additional items that may pop up as unexpected expenses. Right. And we wouldn't have to add the burden of lending.
And as I said before, that money really should just be put in like a general reserve so it can be used for anything in wastewater. We shouldn't specify anything. That'll make the comptroller happier too, depending on how long we are holding on to that fund balance.
As opposed
so we would have to.
So instead of keeping it as unappropriated fund balance, we should put it in a reserve, a project reserve.
Yeah, because it's well above our 2-month operating cost. The comptroller may have a problem with it. I mean, they'll understand that we're trying to use it for a project, but it really should be designated as a reserve fund.
Then let's make sure that we have a resolution for next time to do that wastewater project.
Sorry to add more. I didn't.
Huh?
I said sorry to add more resolutions. But...
No, we live for resolutions. That's fine. Okay. Anything else you want to point out on the water sewer 30 years as we begin that project planning?
I mean, really everything's pretty straightforward. I think the more years of data we have, the better off we'll be.
Yep.
When this was created, we only went for 1920. We didn't really worry about prior to that because we had changed base rates and a lot of things had changed. Plus, some of the numbers it was just a little more difficult to put them in here. I mean, I really think sewer's fine. Water, it's always going to be close, and that's how it really should be. So, I mean, we should always have a surplus or plan ahead. I mean, you can even have a fee for, an annual fee just to have for projects or for anticipated upgrades in the future. 20 years from now, we're going to have to upgrade our water system. We have to make sure we're planning ahead and saving money to do that.
Exactly.
So hopefully this will help us do that.
And as a board, that's what we're working towards over the next several months, is to really make sure that each year we're revisiting what the projects are, what the long-range plans are, because it can't be something that catches us in the behind at the last minute when, you know, we're going to have fountains in the middle of the unanticipated fountains in the middle of the village. So we don't want that. All right. The board have any questions, comments, concerns, things that you want to see in our next update? Just enough to wet your whistle?
It looks here like we have fewer sewer people and water boxes.
Yeah.
Do they have something on that?
Yeah, so there are some people who use water who are not in the village. So they get water, but they're on their own septic. So people within Lake Pleasant. But I don't think that there are too many in the village who have water and not sewer. Is that correct?
No, that's actually incorrect. So there are quite a few people in the village who do not have sewer because the village never ran sewer to beyond that point. Legally in the village, you have to connect to sewer, and then our bylaws basically state that as long as it's reasonable, you have to connect to water. But New York law, you have to connect to sewer or at least pay for it. It was never extended basically beyond Green. What is it called? Charlie Brown Lane. There, beyond, there is no sewer. We've tried to do projects in the past to include that, to go out to the Lake Pleasant Park. It just always fell through. So that's why there's so many less sewer users than water, because it doesn't extend as far as water does.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Ed, or we'll let him get back to the other matters at hand? To your other matters at hand. No?
That's all right.
All right. All right. Thank you, Ed. I appreciate your time and your good work.
Thank you.
All right. See ya.
See ya.
Okay. Clerk Treasurer's report. Mrs. O'Brien.
Okay, just a few little things. Oops. I've been in contact with Majestic Fireworks for confirming July 3rd for Speculator Fireworks.
Oh, so people can see you.
Oh, doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So we're all set for July, for the fireworks for the 4th of July, which will be on Saturday, July 3rd. They already submitted their permit to us and all of that. And we'll be launching them from the beach again this year, so we'll figure that out when we get closer to that.
And what are the added benefits of launching from the beach?
The added benefits are they get to use many more fun fireworks than what they have in the past. So,
Which is good.
Yeah. Before, when they launched from the point, they could only use
Straight rockets.
straight rockets. Now they can use different types. So, launching from the beach, yeah, because of the trees that were there at the end of the point. So, Tracy and I have been working on the reorganization pretty much every Friday for the last few weeks. We're going to continue that next week as well, or sorry, this week, this Friday as well. And then Tracy will be gone next Friday, and we'll start back up with the Friday thing after that. It's going to take us a while, so we're going to probably take maybe a few hours here and there in the afternoon, in the morning or something.
And you have removed quite a few records according to the retention policy.
Retention and disposition policy, yes. We have removed quite a few and written down everything like we're supposed to do.
Yep.
What takes us so long is we're going through the filing cabinets, and we have to go through a good majority of those files to make sure that everything's where it's supposed to be, and if there's anything that we should keep or discard or anything like that. So it's going to take us some time to get through there. The last 3 or 4 times we still haven't gotten through the filing cabinets that are back there. So, and there's only like 5 filing cabinets. So, the tax levy information has been sent to the Hamilton County Real Property Tax Department for preparing the 2021 taxes. And then we should be all set with the credit card and payments by June 1st.
Terrific.
So that'll be all ready. Tax limit and tax cap forms have all been submitted as the state requires. I finished those up last week. And then financial report number 11 is ready.
Terrific. Good.
That's it.
Any questions or comments for Crystal? No? All right. Thank you. Let me pull up a couple things here. Whoops. Okay. So let's go through some old business. So COVID-19 update. The emergency orders, which is emergency order 202.1, was extended to June 5th. So during this time, public bodies may conduct meetings and hearings. Oh, sorry, I forgot the abstract. And this is abstract number 23. So may I have a motion to accept abstract 23? Cindy and Rebecca, any comments, questions about the abstract? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. We can pay the bills. Thank you, Tracy. I tend to run away from that one. Okay, so the executive order 202.1 issued by Governor Cuomo allows public bodies to conduct meetings and hearings either remote or in person as per the CDC and New York State DOH guidance. So that's presently at 50% capacity. NICOM anticipates that the executive order will be extended for the duration of the pandemic. And how long is the duration of the pandemic, you ask? I do not know. So we should plan for an unending date at this point, and we'll keep you posted. So that gets reviewed every month. Yes. Okay. FEMA Halloween storm. We've obtained an outstanding DEC resident approval for the project on Marion Avenue culvert. If any of you have been down there, you'll notice that the bank north of the culvert was washed out because of the storm. We needed DEC permitting, we needed APA, the whole shebang. So we had one approval that was provided, and so that's been sent in, and we should be able to progress shortly with that and the other projects in the area once the rain lets up. The project for the Sagandaga water crossing and the pump station 2 are still being reviewed by FEMA, so still waiting to hear. The FEMA COVID update, I had a very depressing meeting with New York State Department of Homeland Security and FEMA regarding the requirements for reporting expenses for the COVID pandemic. So it appears that there are now 3 reimbursement time periods. So the first one is when it started, January 20th to September 15th, 2020. During this time, all village sanitizing supplies and things like that can be reimbursed. When you get between September 16th to January 20th, 2021, no reimbursement for supplies. When you move to January 21st, 2021, to an unknown date, we can now get reimbursed for sanitation supplies. Now, included in that, as we were going through the list, there were things like plexiglass, which is very expensive and was very hard to obtain. And we were under the impression that that would be reimbursable. But now they're saying, well, that's part of your operating costs. And even though our operating costs have never included plexiglass for the office. So with that said, they said it's subject to change. So keep things aside. So they gave me direction on what should be included on the sheets, what should not be included in the sheets, things that are automatically going to be stricken off, because if you do put them on, then it's going to delay your reimbursement. I mean, it was just getting very painful. The level of detail required in providing that list, that even though, thank you, Tracy, she's gone back 2 or 3 times, they want even more detail. So it's quite painful. So as I said, it was pretty depressing. Our support staff on FEMA and New York State have been excellent, but they're not going to rewrite it for us. So, in addition to that, I may be asking for a volunteer from the board to help me write narratives for our specific situation for every group of expenditures that we're putting in. So, for example, we are claiming time for the beach monitor that we had to hire. As per New York State Department of Health guidance, we had to have a beach monitor that was not doing double duty as a lifeguard. So when I mentioned that to FEMA, they said, well, that really doesn't save lives. You know, that person doesn't save lives by monitoring the beach. And I said, whoa. Explain that kind of does. So he said, okay, those are all the kinds of things a generally populated area wouldn't get. It's, yeah, creative writing 101. More positive. Verizon small cell towers, the paperwork has been submitted to Verizon for the rental agreement. With the fire tower, the fundraising efforts are going well. But in the interim, the site plan for the APA variance application was completed by Lenny for the site plan. So thank you, Lenny Creed from Soil and Water. And I'll be meeting with Allison Gaddy from Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Board to finalize and submit that application. So they are helping do our grants management for that. LED streetlights, I was able to speak with my friend Joe Pallone at National Grid. So supply shortages have seriously delayed the scheduling, in case you were not aware, for the streetlight conversion. So what they've done, National Grid has broken up the state into regions, and our northern region stretches from here all the way up past Lake Placid. So we are in that block, and we are second on the list. So there's one town ahead of us. He assures me he thinks that it will be completed by the end of May. So those specific dates are coming, and then we'll let people in the village know and Roger know that that's coming. So that would be terrific to have that in hand. That also means that the rebate that we were planning for the current fiscal year will be shifted to next fiscal year, and that amount is like $5,600. So, okay, so next is the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act, MRTA for short. So a meeting was held last week, and thank you, Cindy, for attending with me. With an H? Why do they? I don't like the way they spell it. Yeah, they spell it one way in the title and another way. Yeah, no, we can, anyway. Oh, no. So this was to address the impact of legalization of cannabis within our county. So community services, the sheriff's department, several town supervisors, and the village were represented. And so a few things to point out, and Cindy, jump in if I go astray. Sheriff Abrams and the community services do not support commercial dispensaries within the county for a few reasons. Those include security issues, theft and break-ins, increased surveillance that would be required, the enhancements for dispensary owners with respect to glass and doors to prevent break-ins, and the fact that mature marijuana plants produce excessive amounts or can produce excessive amounts of cannabis. So some mature plants are very narrow, and then others are almost like small trees. So those were some interesting points that they had made. We would also need, as a village, to consider what our lines of defense are against criminal activities, if that were to be allowed in our village, given our limited county staff and dependence on New York State troopers when we're not sufficiently covered. Additionally, the county needs training for law enforcement officers to recognize when someone is under the influence of marijuana. We don't have anyone in the county. Well, they have to go for special training, and right now they had to cut their budget with the, they were required to cut their budget because of the what is it called? The police, they had to revisit the reform, police reform. So they cut their budget. So now that the Marijuana Act has come out, they're going to have to increase their budget to get that training, but we don't know how long it's going to take to get that training. And not even all state troopers are trained yet. So there's a lot of gaps and holes on how they can do that. And also, there are a lack of tools for objectively assessing the level of THC and how that correlates to people who are impaired. We were also encouraged to evaluate our policies for cannabis use for village vehicles, heavy equipment, and machinery. So even though it's legal, doesn't necessarily mean that you should be using it while on the job. I'd be in favor of that, not using it while on the job. So what are those levels that we need to look at, and how do we monitor? So, and then there remain a number of outstanding questions and concerns. Someone did point out that was there going to be an impact on any federal funding that we would get based on the fact that we have a dispensary, could have a dispensary within our village limits. I did speak with Wade Beltramo from NICOM, a lawyer there, who gave a very good presentation on these regulations. And he said that to date, he's heard of nothing that would impact. The federal government is kind of holding back on that. So as you know, it's illegal. With the federal government, it's a Schedule I drug, but things are very fluid at this time. Next, the right-of-way for National Grid power lines, we're still waiting to hear back. We didn't expect to hear anything back immediately, but I'll check with Paul Allen, who's working with National Grid and filling in those requests.
Okay. Jeanette, it's Mark Jacob. Just a question on that. We're talking about the snowmobile trail, right?
I'm sorry, Mark, you would have to wait till public comment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So then the septic system and erosion regulations, Mark Doniker should have an update with that.
Yes, we got our comments back from Bob Fox, a professional who deals with septic systems. We want to thank him very much, and I'm going to incorporate those into the addendum to the septic system law, and I will send it out to the trustees for review. After I get their comments, it will go to the attorney, and hopefully by July 1st, we can vote on a resolution.
Terrific. Good. And Mark, Lenny called me today and said that he came across another septic law that changed the types of people who could actually inspect. So there's some additional language that would be more inclusive.
Yeah, that would be fine. Can you ask? I'll just ask Lenny to send it to me.
He's sending in an email to.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Good. Any other old business from the board? Okay, hearing none, we move on to new business. Chief O'Brien, sir.
So on this guest, there are 4 applicants.
Yes. So we have Isaiah David Caldwell, born in 2003, so that makes him what, 18?
So we've got 3
Samuel Caldwell, born in 2004, 17.
junior,
It doesn't say junior.
but that would be a junior in our book. There's
Oh.
18.
Okay, that's a junior. Not, yeah, okay. Sorry. Ken Morrison, Casey Morrison, he's a returning.
He's returning.
And Wade Hartman, who is,
SVAC.
yes, ski patrol. Yes, been coming up here for forever and has made Speculator a permanent home. And yes, he and his wife are down on Elma.
So just need, we've accepted them as their application, fill out that contact, all that stuff. The fire department, we voted on that, just, we just need board approval. We've had no problem with them.
Couple of questions.
Yes.
What are you expecting them to be? So I know you've gone through a lot of change. So a number of people have left. Sadly, we've lost Mark Hughes. So where does that put us with the types of firefighters we have? Those who can do indoor, outdoor, interior, exterior, pumping, whatever. How is that now distributed, and how are these new people filling those gaps?
Hopefully, right now we have about 5 interior guys.
Is that sufficient? Insufficient?
It's low. That is low.
And is there training identified?
It's just a lot of training. It's over 100 hours of training.
And who's in that? How many guys are in that program now?
There is nothing set up at state yet. It's state training. So
Okay.
nothing's been set up yet. It's usually summer months start rolling in. We'll get stuff together.
And you have interested guys who want to do interior
We
training.
have young guys. So, but it's just getting on board, getting here, all that stuff.
Okay.
But like I said, we've lost Brian, Mark, Wayne, he'll be leaving at the end of the month, Lucas,
Brian,
Bledsoe.
oh, that's right,
He left
sorry.
earlier,
Yep,
so.
Okay.
So right now, we've been looking at, we've got 2 other guys that are gonna be the next month. Oscar and, Rob, who's from Camp Lewis.
oh, 2 more applicants.
More applicants
Okay.
for next month. Now, our process takes 2 months to go through.
Okay, so if the board decides to add these people that we currently have before us, what's the number on your
We're at
roster?
21.
You're at 21 with these people. Okay.
It's not super high. I mean, usually averaging, we get 9 to 12 people per call.
Okay.
So
And we still have the mutual aid call with,
when, yes,
Lake
we
Pleasant.
are working with Lake, we have the agreement with Lake Pleasant. We've been working with the jail trying to just get them to remember to tone us out. We had that call yesterday. They didn't get toned out. So, but we're working with I'm Responding as well. So we're getting their tones, they're gonna get our tones, so.
stop.
They're still looking at maybe 2 more people that, firefighters right now that are on, because there aren't these things, so we're now.
Okay.
One, 2, 3.
And so for the folks that you have remaining, you have sufficient training and coverage for people who run the pumps and people who can drive the trucks and.
We're never efficient at it, because we just do them, but we train
I know, you're never gonna lie. Always keep striving.
Saturday, we've got a drill, we're gonna get on the local pump guys, and then we'll do more pumping and traffic process. You don't do it in the winter, because it's not fun to play with water.
That's true.
Ladder truck went out today, back to Vandermolen to get serviced. It was a yearly check before the warranty went up on it, so out the door.
Good. Okay. Any perceived issues with that? Good. Okay, so, yeah. Yes, of course.
Thank you, but
You may not get an answer.
on our side, what if we number of people. We're all roughly about the same, and we're getting smaller. Wells is, they've got their ambulance and fire together, they've also got fire police, they've got a few different things, but they've got a lot of older people. They don't have a lot of, they sit there and drive those roads. So we're all in the same boat, that's why we're doing Indian Lake as well, there's that mutual aid with everyone. We just don't have a lot of guys in, when was it? Month of February and April, February, March, when we just have to go look at it. We're having a tough time. We are doing aid rates. We're just not getting enough people. If we were one department, it'd be a different story.
Right.
Because it's like SBAC, you guys have Lake Pleasant, you've got multiple towns and you can pull from where we're going from Village and they're going from Lake Pleasant. But if it was one, it'd be a different story. That's why we're trying to slowly do it.
And in the mutual aid, you actually have your own fences to go.
Well, there's these, what it is in Lake Pleasant and Speculator right now, that if we get a call, if we get a call yesterday, they're cutting line, they'll be toned out and they go to their station. To base their response from us saying, all right, we need this, or we're good, you guys can head back. But at least we know we have somebody sitting at the station that we trust and through in case it's something that we want their car for. Indian Lake, we had it with Route 30 going north. Anything between here and there, we go with just because it's such a stretch and it takes us a half an hour to get there. Yeah.
Quick question. I won't divulge which one of the four applicants. One of the applicants has a number of things crossed out. Who crossed them out, and can it be initialed by whoever did cross it out? So some is health related, some is another thing. You'll see it as you go over there. I just don't like to see forms that have been filled in and then crossed out. Okay, well then have him initial the fact that he's deleted it and that it's not someone else who has deleted that with the date.
He's filled it out at the fire station.
Yeah, I see where it's the same names written across.
Yeah, well, there's some medical in there that's been
And he talked to me
crossed out.
about that, about what it was, and I'm like,
Okay,
it's something like
Okay.
really early, and I'm like, is that the
1 year old.
Yeah. all right.
So it was just a little confusion on his part.
Okay, so just so that we can have that clean with his initials and the date that he's the one who actually redacted that. Okay, so since we are just seeing these now, it may be that we'll vote on them next time, if that's all right with you. I think that we've seen Wade Hartman's before, and I think we know Casey Morrison. So if people are,
Those two can get in there.
yeah, so I would feel comfortable putting that to a vote. The other two, I have no idea who they are, and I think that we can look into that. What does the board think about that?
Easy, biggest number.
Right.
That is happening here now, so he's on.
Right. So do people feel comfortable enough voting on Wade and Casey Morrison?
I just have a question, Jeanette. The costs associated with new members would be in next budget year or in this budget year?
So the costs associated with new members for their training, for their equipment, or whatever?
We have equipment all film right now. We do not need turnout gear for them. We have all that. We have members that have left and all that stuff. We actually have, we've already looked and said that we have 50 people in.
Then we need an accurate number or a good estimate for our insurance, because I think right now we're at 14 to 20.
Okay.
So if it's within that,
It's still around
right.
the same number.
Just want to make sure that we have the right number covered with the workman's comp.
It takes them a full year before they fall off that branding anyway,
Right.
because it's a 6-month probationary period anyway, and then hopefully they're,
So they do not start getting points until 6 months?
well, that's when they're off probationary, yeah.
Okay, and it's from that point of time, then we do, then for those on the board, those are for the LoSAP points, the long-term service award.
And the people that left to come back, they continue with the
As
same.
long as they
left in good
Left in
standing.
good standings, and they had 5 years of service.
Oh, and 5 years. Then it goes back to 0. Okay.
In my mind, I think that's how it would work, right? Because if you left in 4 or 5 years,
Yeah.
that's it.
Right.
It's going on.
So at our next board meeting, we will be having further information on LoSAP. If you recall, there was a referendum. We voted to change the direct contribution to, it was defined contribution
Defined
benefits
to
to
define.
defined contribution. Yes. So there are some hiccups with our current provider. And so Cindy and I will be talking with him along with Mark Crary this week to iron out a few questions with them. All right.
So is it the Caldwell brothers that
Yes.
we're holding off on, and one is a junior firefighter?
Yes. How many juniors do we have?
Two Hughes kids, Josh and William, Ethan Marshall, the three, so 3 of them.
The 2. So it'd be fine. Okay.
I personally don't need any more time on those 2.
So you know the Caldwells. Jim, do you know the?
I don't know if this is gonna make any difference, because I don't know one way or the other.
Okay. You feel fine with voting on them?
I mean, they've worked it over for a couple of years now, so they're very.
And I would say the junior one should be in automatically, but you don't want to say the brother can't.
Right.
Can.
No, you can. You can. All right, then can you pass those down? Okay.
Matt's good with them, I'm good with them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
I mean,
think.
all of us
Change
says
my
that
mind.
the fire department was 100% formed.
Yeah.
We had any questions, so it's going to background check, they're not pyros, they're not burning buildings down, so you do all that checks.
Okay. Very good to know. All right.
It's an arson check, we gotta do it, so we do it to everybody, so.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, so we'll do them one at a time, shall we? So, may I have a motion to accept Samuel Caldwell as a junior firefighter?
So,
And Jim second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Samuel is in. Next one is Isaiah Caldwell. May I have a motion to accept Isaiah Caldwell as a new member of the fire department?
So moved.
Mark Doniker and Rebecca seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Isaiah is in. Next is Wade Hartman. May I have a motion to accept Wade? Cindy, second. Jim? All in favor of accepting Wade Hartman in, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, Wade is in. And last, Kenneth Morrison, Casey Morrison. May I have a motion to accept him? Mark, I think it's your turn.
So moved.
So moved. Jim seconds. All in favor of accepting Casey Morrison into the fire department, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, there are 3.5. Do we call the juniors halves? All right, 3.5 men. People. And when is Samuel's birthday? He's on the top there. January.
yeah, January.
Okay, so he's 6 months, 8 months? Okay, good. Any other questions, comments, or concerns for Chief O'Brien? No? Thank you, and again, our heartfelt condolences with the loss of our dear friend and your brother firefighter.
That was, yeah, it was just,
Yeah.
you know, it was.
And it will be.
Part of the kids on the fire department, and they're wonderful.
That's great.
They're very strong.
Yep. And I know that you guys will look after them as well as so many in the community. So, and just as a public announcement, there is a chicken barbecue dinner sponsored by the firehouse for May 29th. See a local fireman for that.
Probably gonna sell it.
Yeah, good.
It's a million from 35.
Right. No ticket, no dinner. But donations are still accepted.
There's gonna be a tribute tray and a silent auction that the teachers from the school are hosting that.
Fantastic. Good.
At the same time, from 3 to 5 locations. No, at the pavilion.
At the pavilion.
So the barbecue will be outside by where the kitchen or where the grill is. The trick or treat stuff will be within the pavilion around there. So the sign off and trick or treat.
Right. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you guys.
All right, next up is the resolution authorizing disposition of surplus vehicles and equipment. So let me share the screen for that.
If you could read that, that would be great.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I have the correct one shared. Do I have the correct one shared? No, that's the wrong one. Brother.
You could do that one first, doesn't make any difference.
No? All right, let's do, yeah, don't make me go backwards. It's hard enough. Oh, well, I screwed it up again. So we are going to do the resolution for broadband. All right. So I'm sorry. So just to jump ahead a little bit for broadband. So the resolution that you have is to oppose the enactment of the Department of Transportation right-of-way fees on fiber optic cable, and urges the governor and the New York State Legislature to rescind the fees associated to fulfill the governor's pledge to expand fiber network to the North Country. So in light of the ongoing pandemic, we all know that the lack of access to broadband has a direct impact on being able to work remotely, school remotely from home, and access to telemedicine, etc. So the governor did state in his State of the State address that he is committed to making affordable internet available. So given the priority for broadband and access in rural areas, such as ours, the ADK Adirondack Park Local Government Review Board has asked that local municipalities pass resolutions asking the governor to remove these added hurdles for the build out of broadband. They're looking to gather support across the state with negating these fees. So when you think about it, the Adirondacks is uniquely placed in that it's virtually impossible to install fiber optic cables for any distance without utilizing or crossing a state right-of-way. So this is a huge financial deterrent for anyone coming in to try and develop the infrastructure. And I will point out this is the same problem that they've had with small cell service. And the only reason that we have 2 poles in the village that are in and ready to be hooked up is because they're on private or village property. And we went aside from doing the right-of-way with the state. And they've been working on that for years, so it's not a new thing. So this resolution is asking that they forego that, and we will send this in to the Adirondack Government Review Board to lend our support to that. So may I have a motion to accept the resolution requesting the rescinding of the New York State fiber right-of-way fees?
Moved.
Mark, and second by Cindy. Any questions or comments? No? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Okay, motion carries. And we will send that to ADK tomorrow. All right, so now let me try and do the next resolution. Did I get the right one? Yes, okay. So this is, let me make this a little bit bigger. So this is a resolution authorizing disposition of vehicles and associated equipment. So this is looking at vehicles and equipment that have become excess and no longer required by not only the Department of Public Works, but also the Water Department and the Wastewater Department of the village. So by selling off these things, the village will save monies expended for the maintenance, registration, insurance, etc. of the surplus vehicles and equipment. So there are a number of items. Within DPW, there's the 202 International Series 48 dump truck, right? That comes with a plow. The brakes are frozen at present, but they assure me that that will be corrected this week. The specific VIN number is there. The second up is the 2004 dump truck Series 450. There is 2 pieces of playground equipment, the frog and the riding horse. So if you need to use that soon, I suggest you do that. There is the square floating raft that has been used in the public beach area. Lest you ask, why would we even think about selling that? There are issues associated with getting our license, our permit for the beach with the number of lifeguards.
Well, if we keep the raft is, I mean, people jump off from the raft and there's no diving, obviously. It's a hazard, it's only 4 feet deep there. And if our lifeguards, we'd have to rotate 3 lifeguards and one would have to be out on the raft. So it's just not something we felt like we should do.
Yeah.
It's not something that is worth just keeping.
It's never gonna be deeper right there. And we don't have any other place that we could use it.
Okay.
So.
And for the last 2 or 3 years, we've had a heck of a time just trying to get lifeguards in there. And this year, we're going to have a protracted schedule for Thursday, Friday,
Wednesday
Wednesday through Sunday. So that means we're at risk for issues. So that's.
Well, I mean, we did have the beach open the whole time last summer. And
Without the raft.
Without the raft, and there was no complaints whatsoever about not having it there.
So no one really missed it.
Well, that too, yeah.
And we don't like the geese. So in addition to that list is the John Deere riding mower, 1984 riding mower. And so it's been, we're proposing that the vehicles and associated equipment shall be sold to the highest bidder by auction online, Auctions International, upon approval of the bid by the Board of Trustees. So in other words, if we put, the big dump truck out there and someone gives us $1 for it, well, obviously we're not going to sell it for $1. We'd pull it, wait, do it again. Okay, going on with that list is the 2010 Ford Ranger pickup, the 2010 Flight Centrifugal Wastewater Pump, a Home Light Diaphragm Pump, a Speed Air Compressor, an Air American Air Compressor, a Confined Space Blower that's gas powered, and a New Holland riding mower. And again, highest bid approved by the village. And then these proceeds would go into the capital reserve funds for selected equipment for the DPW, water, and wastewater. Okay. So therefore be it resolved that the mayor, the superintendent of DPW, and the chief operator have the authority to proceed with this resolution, to post it online or post it on the auction. May I have a motion to accept this resolution?
Questions?
Oh, Rebecca, 1 sec. Second? Anybody seconds? Cindy? Oh, okay. Cindy second. Now, Jim, question?
Who sets the value of these things?
So we can do a minimum bid. So we can do it by Kelley Blue Book or whatever. We can also look on auctions online to determine what other comparable vehicles or equipment are selling for. And then at that time, once we get a bid after a month of it being on the auction site, we would then decide whether that's appropriate or not to accept. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Jim, we have to look at all these vehicles, and I have to do more research, and I've been doing that. So we'll have minimum bids before we actually go online.
So Mark's working with people in these departments to come up with that measurement.
Yeah, I'm working with Roger and Ed and to figure out what they cost. There's photographs, there's a lot of information that has to be filled out. And again, we don't have to accept the bid if it's too low and we think we can get more, and we'll just go from there.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of passing this resolution to authorize the disposition of vehicles and associated equipment, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion carries. All right, thank you. Let me get rid of that. Okay, board roundtable. Are there any comments, things going on, any items that need to be brought up. We did mention the chicken barbecue and the tricky tray that's coming up. Nothing? Okay, so at this time, we will open that up for public comment. Thank you, Mark Jacobs, for being patient.
I apologize for the interruption. Didn't know the protocol. So thank you for the update. I appreciate you keeping it as open old business, but I do have a follow-up question. And when this was raised by the board, the issue of the snowmobile trail and the sidewalks on February 8th by Mark Doniker, who was acting on your behalf, you were out on medical leave. The board voted to approve to expend, I believe, $1,200, $1,500 in legal fees for the village attorney to research the outcome of the lawsuit that kind of fell between the cracks dating back to 2003. So I was wondering, that's been 3.5 months. Do we have findings on that? And what is the result of that? And have we paid the invoice from the village attorney? Have we been invoiced for that work?
Have we been invoiced by Katie? I think we're gonna have to go back and look at that, Mark. So
It's all part of it. It was all part of the whole issue that was raised, so.
Yeah, so there were documents requested from the court, so I don't believe that all of those are in yet. So we will keep asking.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, anything else? Oh, Shorty, yes.
4th of July parade, you mentioned the fireworks, but nothing you mentioned. Parade, is it going to be on?
Well, I was asked to write a note to the Department of Transportation to get their permit to do the parade. So as of this time, all the information is there to have a parade. The guidance that may or may not come down from the Department of Health will determine whether there is a parade or not, but we're moving in that direction.
The other question is, this 9-mile right-of-way trail, what part of the right-of-way are we talking about? We're talking about the right-of-way from the old substation?
We're talking about all the right-of-ways that could be used and are being used for trails. So there's the National Grid that goes parallel to Elm Lake Road all the way down to Oak Mountain Drive. And then there's the one that goes along Miletes property that goes towards the river. And then there's one that crosses going down Route 8, parallels Route 8 for a short period of time, and then working with Lake Pleasant. So we're still in that process of making sure that we have things in place, that we're applying for those rights of ways, and if we do have it, that they're properly filed.
So we're not talking about the right of way from the old substation up in the middle of town over to behind the Wayne store. You're not talking.
Yeah, the one that goes back here. Yeah, we're talking about that to see if we can use that as a multi-use trail. So for
It goes nowhere. It goes up to the substation.
No, I understand it ends at the substation, but from there, we are working with Lake Pleasant to see if we can secure agreements from private landowners. So that's all still in the future. We're just seeing whether we can get access to it.
Because my problem with trails like that is the right of way was given to National Grid.
Right.
It was 9 miles.
Sure.
Used it for power poles.
Yep.
And maintenance. And now you want to change that to the trail where people are going to be going to.
No, we go through National Grid. Right, so they have the right of way and they have their lawyers to determine what that use of right of way is, and that's the way we go through it. We're not asking people to change the right of way, we're just following legal procedures to obtain a valid right of way.
Because usually when the right of way is granted to, like the state of New York or municipality for a specific purpose, you know, if you say, I want to buy or get a right of way for so many feet of your land,
Sure.
put a road in there, that is to move interstate commerce or whatever you want.
Right, you're not gonna put a house up on it or a shed.
No.
Yeah, no, we're going through the proper legal procedures, Shorty.
But what I'm saying is, you know, down the road, you can't change your mind and say, you know, I want to put a pole on your property, and then so many years down the road say, well, no, I want to put a road in there instead, because you give me the right of way, I can put a road in there.
Well, that would fall between you granting the right of way and National Grid.
And, you know, it just, because down in the city, like Butlerville, downtown, Broad Open, they use the old FJD Railroad roadway to put a foot trail in, and when now they have problems with people going into people's backyards and stuff like that, and they have all kinds of problems. And I think as far as some of these trails that, you know, what else is-
Well, Shorty, nothing goes forward, nothing gets solid without public hearings and people coming and sharing those concerns and addressing the board, and all those things are taken into consideration. It's a step-by-step process, and this is the biggest hurdle, or this is the biggest initial hurdle. If they say no, then we're ducks out of water, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
Yep, no, you've raised that in the past, and I appreciate you doing that. Yep, no, absolutely. There's nothing done in private.
And when you get into this cannabis stuff, like I said, for years, people have come up here to get away from the BS in the city. And now all of a sudden, we're sitting in the back of our mind saying, do we want a pot shop and speculator? And
No,
we might make a couple dollars off of it. You gotta think of the people who come here to get away from that stuff. Why would you want to put it here, you know?
So to further clarify that MRTA regulation, the marijuana spelled with an H, the way the law is written now, if we do nothing, if we don't do anything, it automatically opens us up to have retail cannabis shops in the village.
No, but you can opt out.
Right, and that's what we're talking about, is opting out.
And I think there should be no hesitation. I don't think the village should even think about it. I think you just opt out of it.
And that's why it gets put to a permissive referendum as well, yes. But we're doing our due diligence.
There's many families here that moved up from Woodstock and places like that, and put their kids in our school to get away from all that stuff. And like I said, I can't see even thinking about it. There's not going to be any money today by municipalities anyway, because the state is going to eat up any.
No, well, actually, within the law, the village or the town gets 3% of the taxes. So the taxes on top of things are 14%.
That's what we
But
anyway,
but thank you for your comment. That's it? Okay, good. All right, so, next board meeting is, June something.
May.
Oh, still May, sorry.
May 24th.
Yes, May 24th. I will be away. 24th.
one more quick thing.
Hey, we stop public comment, Shorty. No, go ahead. Is it?
Yeah, 24th.
I think you're making a mistake getting rid of the dock. That's all I can say. It's been there for as many years as I've been in this village. And it's a little bit of a problem, but it's never been a big problem. And a lot of people go out there, the kids go out there and they chit chat and stuff like that. And it's all part of the recreation in the village. So I think it's a mistake to get rid of the dock. You know, the hoping.
Well, if we have it, we have to monitor it and have lifeguards, and we don't have lifeguards. So then it becomes a liability and a risk.
But for this year, you should just keep it, just go and sell it, and then maybe next year things will be better, and it can go back out. But to buy one of those things, they're expensive.
Well, so what it is, if no one wants to bid on it and we don't get a fair price, we won't sell it. So we're not giving it away, Shorty. We're not throwing it away. If we can get a fair price, and if we don't get a fair price, then we hold on to it for another year. but there are associated costs with maintaining that dock and manning that dock in a safe manner that allows us to operate under our permit with the Department of Health. So there are consequences besides just floating a dock out there that we have to adhere to. But
And we're
So is-
aware that kids enjoy it. and it's
Exactly.
fun and things like that. We just have compared the enjoyment to the risk factor and made
Right.
this decision.
But you don't have to put it in the water, it's in
Right,
the
yeah.
store, you
Yep.
know? You don't have to get rid of it just because this year we don't have $3 less.
no, we didn't have it last year either. But I think we might be beating a dead horse, so. But thank you for your comments and your consideration. I will not be at the next, board meeting. I will be out of town for a family wedding. Planning board will be, 7 PM, May 25th. That's our next planning board meeting. And, may I have a motion to close this meeting? No one wants to end the meeting? Okay, thank you. All right, thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.